So this chapter starts off with Bakugo successfully saving All Might in more ways than one. And it kind of sends All Might into this ethereal dream type of hallucination where he's straight up talking to Night Eye. And Night Eye confirms that, like, yeah, this was the horrible fate that he saw. Like the prophesized death that he's been talking about for years now. It was in fact All For One as a teenager ripping All Might in half. Like all those years ago. That's what Night Eye saw. But he also says fate has been twisted. But your dreams still did kind of end there, but it was also passed on to the others. Because, you know, in that sequence, All Might was essentially ready to give his life to stop All For One. He accepted death. But, you know, Bakugo and Izuku, they're just too powerful. And they both broke Night Eye's prophecies or visions of the future. Which, as far as I know, they're like the only two who have ever been able to do that. And I also like in this sequence how the dialogue kind of gets a little meta. Because All Might's like, you know, what about the sensei dying and passing it on? And Night Eye's like, you know, save it for the comic books, bro. This is battle manga. We don't gotta play by those tropes. And I'm sure it angers some people or think that it's safe writing to keep All Might alive, and maybe, but I think at the same time it's a fine swerve here considering how much it was built up and hammered home. Like I myself was ready for All Might to die. So it's cool that it was subverted and he lives. However, I do have a gripe with another character not dying, and we're gonna talk about it soon. People around the world reacting to like All Might getting saved by Bakugo. And there's a bunch of familiar faces here, but then we see the two kids from the second My Hero movie. I think it was called Heroes Rising, the one with 9 in it. And it's like, I guess that movie's canon now. And guys, I know Horikoshi said that the movies are canon or whatever, but I don't know. If they're canon, why don't you just bring everything in, bro? Just bring it all in. All the ramifications, all the experience. Why don't you talk about Bakugo getting one for all for like a couple minutes? We don't talk about that? And also, I guess this means we're going to see Roddy next. He was like the tag-along dude in the third movie. He was almost kind of like Izuku's love interest, but don't tell anybody I said that. But now that Bakugo has successfully saved All Might, All Might's like, are you alright, Bakugo? He's like, shut up, that's my line. You know, still having that old Bakugo zest in him still. But then he coughs up like a liter of blood. And it turns out that Edgeshot is like coming out of his chest and he's somehow still alive. And if you're surprised, that's fine, because I am too. I was under the assumption that he was giving his life to save Bakugo here, right? Like, we straight up said our goodbyes to Edgeshot, as he says, 1,000 sheet pierceth, and used his body to repair Bakugo's wounded heart and lungs and all that stuff. That's not the case. He's surviving this. He's surviving this somehow. And that's what I was saying, like, I could accept All Might living. He's my favorite character. I have some partisan there. Edgeshot, neutral on him. I'm assuming most of the audience is neutral on him. He hasn't really been built up enough for him to be like a fan favorite, to be honest. But if there was anybody that could have died in this sequence, it was Edgeshot, right? I mean, Midnight died. And it's like, whoa, it almost seems like it was a waste to kill her. Like, she didn't even have to die. I don't know. I don't want it to sound like I'm like complaining. I'm just, I don't know, more so confused. But going further, it gets a little more interesting, I guess you could say, because Edgeshot says that I simply just bound things together. I kept trying to make your heart and lungs work, but you wouldn't wake up. And my ultimate technique eats away at my own life, and I was at my limit. And it was either going to be me or you, but then through your bloodstream came a drop of nitroglycerin, which is his little sweat spheres. And apparently it bound things together. I guess nitroglycerin can also be a healing agent, but it also like exploded too, and like, I don't know, kickstarted his heart, possibly too, from his quirk strengthening over the years, as he says. It doesn't really matter, guys. It doesn't matter. Bakugo's back. I already just accepted that Bakugo was coming back last year when all of this stuff started with Edgeshot becoming spaghetti and then going through Wash's bubble to sanitize his body. So it's fine. Hey, but real quick, guys, GamerSupps is having their brand new Waifu Cups launch starting at 3 p.m. Eastern today. And this time it's Demonic Embrace. Look how aesthetic this is. You can get a sleeve, you get a shirt, a fanny pack, and of course a waifu cup. Check the link in the description and make sure you use code BIGZ for 10% off. Thanks, guys. Bakugo's back. To be honest, Horikoshi, you didn't even have to tell us this much. But I know he did, because he's trying to keep Bakugo strong. You know, because if like this was all just Edgeshot and Best Genius and the others who are entirely responsible for bringing back Bakugo, it's like, yeah, he was just saved. And he didn't do anything on his own volition. He didn't earn anything. Just everything was given to him. And Horikoshi's trying to stifle that narrative. And he's saying, Bakugo came back to life on his own. I mean, yeah, he needed some ninja spaghetti in him, but he still did it on his own, guys. Then All Might passes on his broken support item gauntlet to Bakugo, which of course was inspired by Bakugo, as, along with the rest of his support items from the Class 1A. And he says that it's not working anymore, and that's because, he was trying to blow it up to destroy All For One, but All For One, stabbed his rivet quirk through it. And I don't think that's the case. I'm sure it still works. It's possible that it even exploded in the end of this chapter, but I don't know, maybe. But I'm sure that this is going to come back and be more than, as All Might says, a splint. And then after he gives us the Bakugo, we get the ultimate fan service moment here. I'm assuming that's not the apex fan service moment. I'm sure that's going to happen when Izuku kisses Ochako, or Izuku has a big bro hug with Bakugo, which is coming in the next couple chapters. But Bakugo giving a genuine smile. We've only seen stuff of this from Kami's illusions, but this is the real, fully realized Bakugo smile. And I like it because we all knew that it was coming to this point, right, guys? Bakugo is kind of like the new Vegeta, I guess. Because it just reminds me so much of Vegeta's character arc at the end of Z. They totally domesticated him at the end. And I'm not saying Bakugo's domesticated, but he is certainly approaching his fan servicey, likable side more than ever. Which, it's necessary. We're at the end of the series. This is what a lot of us have been wanting. Then All For One starts panicking because he's like, oh crap, I need to get to Tomura and give him my copy of All For One so I can completely take him over. His plan that he's working on for too long. The plan with 100 steps and then 300 extra backup steps to those steps. And then he starts thinking about all the heroes that he had fought in this arc leading up to this moment. And I guess this is Horikoshi showing us that everyone played their part in stopping All For One from successfully completing his plan. Even if they were just able to stop him from moving a single inch, or stop him from achieving whatever he was going to do 1 second less than what he was supposed to, they successfully stopped him from winning. No matter what little thing they did or how much panel time they had, all of the characters we see here played their part in saving the world. And I like it. It's better than nothing. I know that Horikoshi can't give everyone a chapter dedicated to themselves and also satisfying character arcs and storyline conclusions. I mean, he could if he was like Oda, but Oda's a freak, but this is good enough. And it could also be tying into what he was talking about in the previous chapter with the butterfly effect. The flap of a butterfly's wings in Brazil can cause a hurricane in Texas. Just something as little as Mineta stopping All For One from walking more and turning around and looking at him and getting upset. That was enough to stop All For One. And then we come into the end of the chapter with Bakugo just grabbing All For One by the face and telling him that's I'm your final boss, bro, which we were talking about before. And he just levels him with this ultra concentrated explosion blast. And he's like, I'm the guy who steps in when that nerd, referring to Izuku, can't handle it all on his own. And it's Bakugo finally realizing his part in this story. He is Endeavor. I mean, that's what we're getting across, right? Izuku is All Might, and Bakugo is Endeavor. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. There always has to be a number 2. It's Michael Jordan had Scottie Pippen. But anyway, I'm assuming that this is really going to mess All For One up, and he's probably going to regress in age again. We also talked about this before. I just thought that it was going to happen sooner. And I'm thinking at this point, we're going to see Bakugo just completely destroy like a toddler. And I think Horikoshi is going to make that more tolerable by just making All For One look making him more Tetsuo-y will make us less feel bad about Bakugo just completely wiping the floor with a 5-year-old. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the video, guys. Looking forward to the rest of the series, of course. Let me know what you think about this chapter, though, in the comments. And if you liked the video, please give it a like and please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.